I am free. I am free. I was like, okay, homie, I'm good.
Rose, how did you find carnivore?
Dave, how did I find carnivore? Can I go back to being a 3.5-year old? Yeah. Okay. So essentially, I was 3.5 years old. And as a child, as a result of childhood trauma, food found me, or I found it at 3.5, and propelled forward a traumatic childhood, rearing and whatnot, till I was 17. So I've always had a tumultuous relationship with food in general, fast food, processed food, the whole nine. And when I left home, I got married at 18 and a half. I still identified through food. I started dieting at 12, compulsively binging, yo-yo dieting, using X-Lax, Tab, drinking Tab. It was a diet soda back then. And laxatives and Dexatrim. So I carried that cycle with me until I was probably about 35, close to 40. And I had my daughter when I was right before my 20th birthday, and I had stopped using X-Lax and Dexatrim and all that stuff while I was pregnant. But within 6 weeks of giving birth, I went back to the same cycle of yo-yo dieting, binging, the whole nine. And I just couldn't understand why I didn't get anything right pertaining to food and weight loss. My weight topped out at 300 pounds, and it pretty much stayed there, give or take 20 pounds. And I'm 6 feet tall. And I can't say that I carried it well, because I didn't, because I felt every pound on me. And then in like March of 2001 or so, yeah, 2001, I decided just to get my life together, get off the merry-go-round, and actually educate myself, and decide to stop dieting and learn about the reasons why I was compulsively overeating. But I did it all wrong, Dave. I did everything wrong. I counted calories. I was obsessed. Even though I put the scale to the side, I was completely obsessed. And I still kept compulsively eating and binging. But I did manage to lose 110 pounds. And in 2008 and in 2012, I was on the Joy Bauer Joy Fit Club on the Today Show. And that was just because I was writing to the magazines and going to New York on trips anyway, that I kind of self promoted and got on the shows and whatnot. But around 2012, or a little bit forward to about 2016, my weight started to creep up. I could no longer, keep it under a certain amount. And I was actually exercising like it was a full-time job. And my mental health was just, everything just revolved around food, Dave. Everything. If I said hello to someone, I was thinking about what I was going to eat next. During my work hours, I had to carry a work bag full of food with me. It was just insane now that I look back, and the amount of money that I spent on diets and repeating diets, thinking that this was the time that it was going to work because it was so popular. But I didn't realize that it wasn't me that had the problem. There was really nothing wrong with me. I just didn't know how to eat correctly for me. And I had an addiction. Alcohol was there in the background as well. I was a weekend drinker, and hairstyles, compulsively shopping. And I can't say that my quality of life was top notch, nor was I the ever present parent, even though I tried to be. And as far as being a wife, it was what it was. We're still married, but we're more on paper than anything, and I'm okay with that. Right. And that's been going on for about 24 years. We share space and all that good stuff. It works for both of us. But what I want to say is I had hit my ultimate rock bottom in June of 2018. And I actually was questioning. I've always experienced depression and knew how to ward it off, like with coffee or just doing more things, or over exercising. There were things that I knew that brought me relief, right? But in 2018, I was literally beaten into submission. And when I say I was beaten into submission, everything that I learned no longer worked. Plus, I was going through perimenopause, menopause, and the whole nine. But I was very stubborn. I didn't want to do hormone replacement therapy. I didn't want to go seek professional help. I didn't want to do any of that. I figured I could figure it out on my own. And my daughter at the time was selling exogenous ketones. Like prove it. So I said, oh, I'm going to support her and, buy all these expensive supplements. And that's how I found out about keto and intermittent fasting. Then I went down a rabbit hole with that. I was just hoping that the last ditch effort would be these exogenous ketones. I can still eat anything under the sun and lose weight and not have to change anything, right? So 6 months of research and contemplation, December 2nd, 2018, I decided to take the plunge, do keto and intermittent fasting simultaneously. And it was a ish show, literally a ish show, because I kept binging, but I was doing the keto diet, right? So I do 2 days great, 5 days were messed up, 2 days great, and all that stuff. And during this time frame, God had told me, like in June, when I just hit my rock bottom, didn't know which way to go. And I was trying to make it through 30 years in corrections for retirement, Dave. And I want people to hear this very clearly. God told me that if I made it to my 30-year mark and retired, my mental health and my physical health would be in such a bad disarray that I would not be fully restored to my optimal health. And I listened and I started making plans to leave the field. And I ended up cashing in my retirement so that I could live a few years without worrying about my share of the expenses, because that wasn't a part of me and my husband's program for one of us to just stop working and the other one to figure out our life together, right, financially. So I cashed in my future earnings, my future financial well-being to take care of myself, my mental health, and to get my life back on track. And I'm going to say for me, cashing out and taking a time out was well worth it, because I might not have been here talking to you had I have not. So even though I did everything wrong, and I immediately went to OMAD because I am a volume eater, I like to feel full, right? So I realized that doing 2MAD or snacks and all that stuff wasn't going to work for me. So I almost immediately went to OMAD and have been OMAD ever since. But this is the thing, all during 2019, the ketogenic diet did serve me. It did serve me, but I was still compulsively overeating, compulsively exercising, and just being food obsessed. I had heard something about carnivore during that time. And in January 2020, I went full on carnivore. I committed and everything was hunky dory. And I started January 2020 at 193, and my weight plummeted to 168, 170 within a 2 month time frame. And I wasn't alarmed or anything like that because I still had a voracious appetite. And then it stabilized, right? It stabilized in March of 2020. I went out and bought a pair of jeans that were like $170 from the Buckle. And I go, this is my da 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 da. And this is the thing, Dave, 180 is my normal weight from high school. So now my weight has stabilized without me trying or without me forcing the issue at about 175. So, and my jeans still fit good, and they're actually a little baggy in the caboose, if you know what I'm saying. So even though I was being triggered during the first year and a couple of months on keto, when I finally went carnivore in January of 2020, everything was hunky dory until the first holiday was maybe like Easter. I decided to take a day off and have a cheat day, a binge day. I deserved it. It's a reward. But that started a cycle for like 3, 4 days, 5 days of me just eating everything in sight, right? And then trying to get it back together. And then I go another 2 or 3 months. Everything is good, Dave, until the next trigger or the next holiday. This repeated, and mind you, I was still taking certifications and online courses and stuff, and I was in denial about the fact that I was an actual addict, right? I'm like, that's for everybody else. That's for the population that I served in the jail as far as inmates. I could see it in them, but I could see some of the same behaviors, right? The compulsiveness, the need to do certain things. But I go, my stuff is legal, right? It's legal. And I finally got it when I went on a headlong binge in August. And August 20th, 2020 was my last organized binge because it finally registered. There are foods that I could never eat again without going down the rabbit hole, right? And so for the rest of 2020, I went hardcore, strictly carnivore. And then in January, Dave, 2021, I decided, well, because society, because of doctors, because of all these things, maybe I should try to reintroduce some foods. Blueberries sent me over the edge. Yogurt sent me over the edge. Things that were legal sent me over the edge. So by June of 2021, I just said, hey, I'm carnivore girl for life. Let's do this, ride or die. So that's where I'm at as far as that. And then when I first came on your show last fall, um, pretty much talked about this, but I was also sharing with you that I was in a coaching cohort or coaching course, and I was looking for people to coach on the carnivore way of life. Dave, I opened that up and you helped me. You helped me find people that wanted to be carnivore. And I was trying to serve all the people, meaning if they were on the standard American diet or if they were trying to dip into the keto diet and they were trying to transition into carnivore. I finally just said it this past January. I cannot serve people who are still dibbling and dabbling because that will affect me and my compassion for them and how I guide them because I ultimately know that you have to remove specific foods that don't work for you and your brain chemistry. And if people are dibbling and dabbling, I can't help them, right? I can't serve all the people and support all the people. So now I'm on a trajectory to support women that are 50 years old and older because we still got it going on, even though we think we might not. But to find out that once you get your hormones in balance by eating the foods that are right for you, and doing the darn thing and maybe adding some exercise and whatever else you need, that you can have a better quality of life. My depression doesn't rear its ugly head, but once in a while. And when it does, I accept it. I say thank you and I just move on. Whereas other times it would just bring me to a low, right? My relationships are considerably better because I'm not so caught up with what restaurant are we going to? What am I cooking? How are we doing things? You know, so I don't see the world anymore through the lens of food. I eat at a very specific time and I'm done. And it just works out. So, Dave, I want to say that I've used you as a virtual mentor. Just, and this is going to sound crazy, but I've noticed that in the last 4 or 5 months, you have more women on your show. So, I love seeing the females share their story. I love seeing the whole gamut as recently as the 83-year-old that was on the other day. So when I get up in the morning, some people might, do gratitude. They might use the bathroom, jump on the scale, shower, whatever. But Dave, this is the truth. When I get up in the morning, I use the bathroom. I brush my teeth, wash my face, get ready for the gym. But the first thing that I do is go to your channel while I'm doing all of that. And sometimes it's while I'm sitting on the toilet. And then I just save the ones that I want to watch immediately or download them to my iPad and carry on with my day. So you are literally a part of my morning every single morning. And I want to thank you for providing a platform for so many variety of people to come on and just share their stories. And that's what I'm doing also. So I'm doing my thing after you. So I'm so excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And
Yeah.
look, congratulations. I mean,
Yeah.
what strikes me now about your story that struck me back then is like, how do I say this without getting upset? Is
Yeah.
it just, you've struggled so much, and it's just continued, and you've continued to try and try and try, and eventually you got there, and it's just so nice to see.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's because, it's kind of like I said, I was beaten down so far, Dave, that I didn't even have my own back. And to be quite candid, my husband is not in a position to help me if there was an emergency for me because his health is not where I would hope it would be, right? And so I am really every woman for herself, right? So I have to take care of myself. I don't have a choice. But my mental health was so bad in 2018 that I was like, well, we can just let the house go. We can sell it. We can get a divorce. And I can actually go to Hawaii and become, a bum working in a coffee shop. I don't have to have all the worldly things. But something in me said, keep trying. And that was God's voice. Keep trying, keep trying. And the reason that I share where my story started as far as with eating at 3.5, because a lot of women don't realize that how they're eating, it just didn't appear one day. It started somewhere, whether it was in childhood or from a comment or from an abusive relationship with a spouse or whatever. It stems somewhere, whether they did it consciously or unconsciously. It started somewhere. And then a lot of times the talk therapy, the reading and not doing anything, or being in a support group and not taking action, it might work for some people, but you've got to get the right foods in your body so your brain isn't being hijacked anymore. My brain was really freaking hijacked for all those years, right? Because of the processed food and just the compulsion to eat the same thing over and over and over again. Kind of like my coffee habit, but that's a little bit more tolerable. But yeah, so getting the drugs out of my system and keeping them out is great. So I wear my addiction as a superpower now. And I just want to help anyone that needs help. And like you, share their story and just lock arms with sisters and just say, sisters meaning black, white, Indian, whatever. But also speaking of black, white, whatever, I'm one of the only ones that show up in the carnivore space every now and again, even though there might be a handful of Black women and a handful of Black men. We need more. We need more. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come back on the show also, is because there's only been a handful of people that probably reached out to you, but I want to let my Black sisters and brothers know that this way of life is legit, and start showing up. If you're doing anything in the carnivore space, please start showing up because we need to see other people that look like us.
And you spoke before about 50 plus women,
Yeah.
and the amazing thing about this is that, you know for me too, I'm about to turn 50, and it was always a feeling of, oh, okay, well, I'm getting older, the wheels are falling off, the wheels are falling off, the wheels are falling off. But it doesn't have to be like that, right? Like
No,
50 is so young,
it is. We're
but
only halfway through.
right? But we're so, we see the people around us who have just been eating a regular diet, and as we're growing up, and it's like by 50, it's, they're starting to take all the pills and starting to experience all the problems, and so we think, oh well, that's our destiny too, but it doesn't have to be, right?
No, it does not have to be. And then on top of that is if there's like a little voice that's still inside that says, girl, you can do this, whatever it is, that means that inner voice, that inner child, that inner wisdom, that inner God is speaking to you. There's a little flame that's still going. So long as we have breath, we've got to keep trying. And you know, I am not scared to say anymore that addiction runs in my family, my husband's side of the family. I never knew my natural mother, my biological mother, but I've heard that, addiction ran in her family as well. And so with my daughter and my granddaughters, I tell them I can only share my story. I can only share what is true. So please be cautious if you're choosing to do things that might get you hooked, right? And so being 50 is phenomenal. If anybody would have told me that 50, I would look this good and be aging in reverse, I don't think I would have believed them, but I do now because I'm living it. Yeah.
So what you're eating 1 meal a day,
Yes.
and what is you do seem like you're very active. So what is your
Yeah.
exercise regime?
So, so I am, how do you say, a job coach for a school district for special needs students. So we take them to their job sites and coach them and work with them. So when the students are out of school, I'm out of school. So I'm out of school for 10 weeks this summer, right? So normally I get up at about 3:10 every morning. And I go to Hot Works. I get there by 4:30 to the studio. And Dave, it's in the opposite direction of where I live, about 15 miles. So I would work out my hour on the cycle there, and then I would go lift weights or vice versa, shower, change, come back home, drop off my dirties, let my dog out, and then go on to school. My school is only like a 5-minute drive from my house. So exercise is very therapeutic for me, right? And then I have a home gym, and then I have a couple of gym memberships. So I used to run because I was just crazy with it, but I don't have cartilage in my knees anymore. So that option has been removed as a choice because I don't want knee replacements. So I just keep it moving, power walking, rowing, everything under the sun and lifting weights. Yeah. So yeah, it's therapy for me, right?
Wow. And so
Yeah.
you're up at 3:10 a.m. and what
Yes.
what time are you going to bed?
I don't sleep. I'm not a sleeper, but this is the thing. I've never been a sleeper. So I might be in bed at 10, sleep by 10:30, so 4 to 6 hours of sleep. But I'm revamping my workout routine to keep me closer to work and home. So I'm rerouting what I'm doing for the fall. So it's kind of like I'm brain training and getting used to that right now. So instead of being all over the place, I will just be at one gym, shower, change, and then go straight to school. So yeah, so it's all good.
And have you started this way of exercising since carnivore, or did this start before?
It was before, so I discovered exercise at 20 when my husband told me, "Hey, do you want to go to the gym?" Because like remember I just had my baby and it was his way, I think, of saying you're fat, but I'm not going to tell you you're fat. I'm going to support you. Just go to the gym. But what happened was is I got hooked. Anybody that has an addiction might not understand that it's like an addiction is a disease. Like we have outlets in our home. They can play out 5, 6, 10 at a time, or just maybe have two main ones at a time. So my at that time was food and dieting and the yo-yo roller coaster. But when exercise was introduced, that caught on. Does that make sense? It caught on. And then, different hairstyles, compulsively shopping, that had always been in my background. So, but I love to exercise for the way I feel. And I'm not on any medication or anything. So thanks to diet and exercise. Yeah.
Did you find that when you went carnivore, the energy you had or the endurance you had with exercise improved?
So initially it didn't because at the time I was doing half marathons and full marathons. And because I'm so stubborn, I was trying to test the limits of how far I could go on OMAD and not fuel and all that stuff and use my body fuel as a source of fuel and stuff. And so maybe the first 3 months until like March, the first 3 months, and then my energy level picked up. And I only eat once a day, and it's typically at 3 o'clock after work, getting settled. But I have to tell you, I'm like 28 hours into my fast right now because I didn't want to eat before this call because you get a little sluggish and stuff. So, yeah. So I exercise fasted. I go through my day fasted, and I just have that one meal, which is typically hamburgers, cheese, eggs, like bratwurst, bratwurst, like sausage links, bratwurst. I'm very, very simple. The simpler, the better. Yeah. And then, like, I have my granddaughters, I picked them up today, so I have them overnight. And the first thing I said to them was, ribeye is on sale. Are you guys going to eat a steak today? Yes or no? Yes, Bea. Yes, Bea. So I fried them a steak like a half hour before I jumped on the call. And I let them have avocados and berries and stuff like that and boiled eggs. But they eat ketogenically when they're with me. Does that make sense? So I
Yeah.
cut them up a steak, and yeah, they devoured it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome that they enjoy the
Yeah.
steaks.
Yes. So they're 8 now. So they're fraternal twins. They're 8 now, and they travel with me. So this year we're going to go to Hawaii for 6 days. And so I bought like the Vienna sausage in the can because I need to pack some stuff that's going to kind of balance things out. So I gave one of them a can today. I said, "Hey, do you like Vienna sausages?" "Yeah." The other one said, "Well, I'm quite not sure." So I said, "Why don't you guys share the can?" They were at the table, Dave, smacking. That was their appetizer while the steak was cooking. I was like, yes, they'll starve. So it's all good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's just again, I'm kind of stepping back, but it is just so good to see how much energy this gives that it's given you, you know?
Yes. And the mental clarity and the focus. And I don't know if you know about like obsessive thoughts or you just keep ruminating on thoughts and stuff like that. So I've always been able to function at a high level as far as work and interacting with people. But I used to be on like, how do you say, my moods would fluctuate. I knew I had to keep them correct in public or at work, right? I had to keep it stable, but I wasn't stable. My moods were just all over the place. I was a rager. Um, and I didn't communicate really well with my family. I really didn't, even though I thought I did, right? And so now, the Zen is there. I could give three fudges not about what's going on. It's not going to affect me. It's not going to bother me. And I'm just going to be in the same monotone. It's fine. It's fine. Even if it's not fine, it's still fine because what am I going to do about it? Right? It's fine. Yeah. So I have that carnivore Zen. Yes. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
So, how much money would I have to give you to go back to a regular way of eating?
Well, Dave, it took me till being 50, 51, and breaking down, having a nervous breakdown, cashing in my financial future to get the peace that I have today. So I'm going to tell you, you couldn't pay me anything, brother, anything, not for this peace of mind that I have, knowing that everything will always be all right. Nah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good to hear. I mean, everyone really once they've been on Carnivore for a decent amount of time, everyone realizes there's no money in the world that's worth taking my health away from me.
My health, my peace, my sanity, and okay, some of my vanity too. Okay. But oh, and one more thing. So I've been letting go of things. I've been learning how to let go. Carnivore has helped me to let go and just be at peace. So for me, I want to be in control of everything, but I'm finally realizing I can't be in control of everything, right? My thoughts, I can work through my thoughts. I can only control what I can control, but everything else, it is what it is. So I used to wear hair weaves, wigs, and braids all the time. And if my style didn't change daily with a wig, or every 4 weeks with a weave, or every 6 weeks with braids, I would get anxiety, literal anxiety. So this past Mother's Day, can I just tell you a really quick, funny thing? So We had a MEAT meetup here in Green Lake in Seattle, Washington. There was like 6 of us that met up. I had on a wig. It was extremely warm on May 11th for this area. It was just warm. I made a delivery, a drop off for UPS. It was a big box. Before I even got on the freeway, I was sweating, Dave, and I'm not a sweater. I'm usually cold. I was like, something's happening here, but I refused to take off the wig because it was gelled and styled just so. So while we did our 5K walk, I was just sweating under this wig, sweating and sweating and sweating. We went to coffee afterwards. I was like, I can't wait to get in my car and rip this shit off of my head, right? Because I was sweating. And it took me the rest of that week to decide I'm going to just do no wigs, braids, or weaves and just wear my natural hair because I have a lot of alopecia from the stressors and the styles and whatnot. I said, I'll do it for 112 days until I turn 57 in September. But you know what, Dave? I'm okay wearing my natural hair. I am free. I am free. I was like, okay, homie, I'm good. So that was the last of my things, my vices that I held on to. So I am so elated to
That's
experience the freedom of
great.
my natural
That's
hair.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. And so that's that. Oh, and then we're starting meetups here in the Pacific Northwest in my general area. I've partnered with 1 or 2 other people that we've connected with, and I'm going to just start hosting meetups, casually, coffee or at a park or whatnot. So I'm committed to that at least 4 times a year. And I just want to, wrap my arms around anybody that wants to, consider this way of life or just have conversations. Yeah. You've been a big
Nice.
influence on my life, Dave. Oh,
Nice.
still are. Yeah.
Thank you. So, on those points, like
Yeah.
how can people reach out to you?
So it's my name. Well, because of you, I was encouraged to start a YouTube channel. And I started it last October, and it went through a couple of renditions because I really didn't know what I wanted to do with it. So when I finally drew my line in the sand and said, I only want to serve people that are really trying to make this lifestyle change to carnivore, it became easy. So on YouTube, it's Rose AJ Coates, Coates, Instagram, and Facebook. So come give me a holler, come do whatever, because I need followers, y'all. I really do need subscribers. I really do to get the word out, especially people that look like me. Okay. So, yeah. So I'm sharing people's stories on Thursdays. And then I'm just venturing into the live part of it on Mondays now. So that's a little scary, but it's going really well because I have a co-pilot who's agreed to do 4 Mondays with me. So that's helping me to ease into that space. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Rose, I'll link to those below.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
thank you so much for
Okay.
coming back on and letting us know how you're doing. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you for allowing me to do this. I appreciate you as well.